Welcome to Team Performance Coaching. My name is David Hopper, and today we're talking about 5 ways to make your organization better. Now, some of these are no-brainers. You probably already know all this, but I have been working in ministry, organizations, businesses long enough to know that these are the 5 things that the owner or the leader, your team leader, whoever it is above you wants from you. Number 1, show up. Half the battle is just getting everyone in the room. It's so interesting how many times when the room's full and there's life and there's energy, we call it a successful event. If the room's half full, not everyone we thought was going to be there is there, then we call it a dud. And when we come and the main leader's not there, we think, well, why am I here? And if the main leader comes and some of the key people he's looking for are not there, he wonders, well, why did we do this event? When we talk about what we do as an organization, showing up to the big things all together is half the battle of making them successful. In the church world that I worked in for a long time and still do, I have found that if the room's full, everyone is pumped about what's happening, and if the room's half full, it could be the same thing that we were doing before, but everyone thinks it's not working. It's like, congregation, just tell me that you're going to be there. If you're going to be there, I know it's going to be a success. And if you're not going to be there, let me know, because we'll just change the event. So often in our roles, whatever role you play in your organization, you just need to let the leaders know, is this something that everyone is going to be at? Because if everyone is into it, it will be successful. Show up. One of my favorite all-time illustrations of this particular point is called the parable of the baseball team. Just as the umpire was saying batter up, the catcher for the home team arrived and took his place behind the plate. The center fielder didn't show up at all, but he sent his regrets. The third baseman likewise failed to come to the game. The shortstop was present, but he left his glove at home. 2 of the substitute fielders were away on a weekend trip, but said they're there in spirit. The pitcher went to the mound, looked around for his teammates, but his heart was heavy because the positions were empty. The game was announced, visitors are in the stands, there's nothing to do but pitch the ball and hope for the best. But in addition to pitching, he also had to cover first and third base as well as short and center field. When the absent players heard that their team had lost, they were so upset that they had a meeting and decided to get a new pitcher. If this sounds like your organization where you're always talking about leadership issues, perhaps you just need to show up. The second area to make an organization better is duplicate yourself. In the long run, and let me say it again, in the long run, you will be happier, stronger, and better if you're duplicating yourself. It may sound wrong in the short term because you're basically training someone to take your job, but if you are always doing that, you're always coaching and leading and training, you are making your organization better, you're making yourself better, because as you teach, you become better at what you do. And those are the people who are promoted and trained and looked upon as valuable assets to the organization they work for. So number 1, show up. Number 2, duplicate yourself. And number 3, do the hard things. A housekeeper and a lawyer, they do the same things. They clean up messes. But you pay one far more than the other. Why? Because they handle harder messes. Whenever you work for an organization, look around and say, what's the hard things? What are the things that people are avoiding, and step into it. If you begin to step into the hard things, you choose to do the hard things, you make your organization better. One illustration that I love, it's called Bobby's Valentines. And this was a challenged student, didn't have many friends at school. He went to his mom and he said, I want to get a Valentine for every single person in my class. And the mom was a little bit hesitant because she sees her child when he walks home. All the other kids are laughing and playing and he's sort of left alone, and her heart breaks knowing that as he's personally working to make a special Valentine for every single student in his class, there's a chance that he won't get one back. And she hates that. So on the Valentine's Day, she makes cookies, she prepares, she gets ready for this sad child that's gonna walk out of school. But when that child walks out of school, he gets in the car And he says, not one. Not one. And the mom's thinking, oh no, it happened. He didn't get one Valentine. And then the child looks over at his mom and says, I didn't forget one. And he was so excited because he had spent weeks writing a special Valentine to every single student in that class. Here's the point. That student understood that helping others and pushing to do something special for others wasn't about what they would get back, but actually caring about who he was trying to reach. When we talk about doing the hard things, you may not get all of this credit for doing those hard things, but step into it and say, I want my organization to be better. I want my business, my church, whatever it is that you work, you want to make it so much better that you step into the difficult areas. Be that type of employee. The fourth area is do the little things. This is the picking up trash when no one would notice you doing that. This is the knowing the names of not only those you work with, but their wives, their kids. It's going the extra mile when someone walks into your business, your organization, your church, and saying, I'm not just gonna point you in the right direction, I'm gonna take you to that location. I'm gonna give you a tour of what we are all about. I'm gonna introduce you to new people. I'm gonna speak well of everyone, no matter what. I'm gonna know the overall vision of what our organization is about, and I'm gonna preach it as an evangelist for it. That's doing the little things that really turn into the big things. There was a priest that was standing in front of his church one time, and someone came up to him, an older lady who had been part of the group for a very, very long time, and said, hey, there's a homeless man who's eating all the donuts. Do something. And so that priest goes over to this homeless man and says, do you know that we have even better donuts than this? And he pulls out from under the table a full box of donuts, and these are like the best donuts you can imagine, and says, here, have these. And the homeless man smiles, takes the donuts, and walks away. He goes back over to that older lady by the door and says, that's what you meant when you said do something, right? You see, we forget the business that we're in many times. And it's about caring about the overall vision of what that business, organization, church, whatever it is, and saying, I'm gonna do the little things that make this place special. The fifth and final area that makes your organization better. So far we have talked about being there, duplicating yourself, doing the hard things and doing the little things. The fifth way you can make your organization better is by being a gift giver. I know that sounds really strange, but it's so true. If you're anything like me, you actually like getting gifts. And I don't mean some extravagant car or something, although I would be appreciative if that happened. I'm talking about the thank yous, the letters, the going beyond that I would have imagined and saying something well of me in front of others. All of those gifts mean something to me, and it will to your team too. Always spend time making your team, whoever that is, volunteers or workers, make them feel like they are the best by going above and beyond in the way you give gifts. Keep them at 100% all the time. That might be a letter you write, a thank you say, or a literal gift because you know of something they need. You know their anniversary. You know the day they started working with you. You know all their birthdays. If you know these things and you're good at giving gifts, you will never have a problem building a team around you. People will want to be on your team, and you will be able to go so much further with your team when you're good at giving gifts. My name is David Hopper. This is Team Performance Coaching. I'm so excited that you're here. If you have a question or you want us to talk about something specific, will you leave a comment below? I would love to talk about what you want to talk about. Subscribe to this, share it with others, and thank you for being here. And I hope that this makes your organization even better than it was before.